Hi, I'm Sarah Noble, your host for the Modern Day Intuitive Podcast. For over 25 years, I've been on a spiritual journey, searching, learning, expanding, and growing. I've traveled the world, led by my heart, on a quest to know myself so that I can support others. This podcast was created from my deep desire to help you connect with your intuition and to inspire you to create a life where the impossible becomes possible and you live into your sacred dreams and desires. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Hello, my loves. Welcome to the show today. So good to have you here. I just love being with you in this way. And I have a really lovely reading today with Ken Stearns. And Ken left his corporate career to follow his passion of being a public speaker and hosting a podcast. And he's here with us today because he's at this point where he is looking for guidance of if he's on the right path. He's bumping up against his stories and is wondering if this is really what he's supposed to be doing. So this reading takes us on a beautiful journey where we look at the importance of being in the present moment and not looking too far down the road into the future. We talk about following your heart versus your mind. We look at how creating your future comes from being in devotion to your dreams today, and how big growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. We talk about how your expansion comes from walking a path of total surrender, and how to look for and follow spiritual breadcrumbs. We talk about creating from your heart energy versus your scarcity stories, and how your business is actually alive and has a soul of its own, and the importance of making sure that it lives outside of you, not inside your heart or your body. So I'd love to share a little about Ken. He is a writer, a lyricist, a photographer, and a podcast creator. 14 months ago, he traded in his suit for a van, a mic, some questions, and started his own traveling podcast called The Jar. He has interviewed over 200 guests and visited 60 cities on his journey. This was a really fun reading, and I so enjoyed my time with Ken. And before we dive into that reading, I wanted to share that the new website is live. There's so much good stuff on there for you, including my new free gift called Ignite Your Intuition. This gift came through me for you and includes an audio teaching, a workbook, a ceremony with the elements, and a guided meditation that's all designed to help you ignite your intuition and really get in touch with those parts of yourself that are calling out to you to go deeper and to really tap into your own inner wisdom, your dreams, your desires, and the life you came here to live. So check that out. There's a link in the show notes. There are also links in the show notes to find Ken and to listen to his amazing podcast, The Jar. Enjoy, my loves. Namaste. Hi, Ken. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks. Well, I'm on a journey, and I think there's some crossroads ahead, some streams ahead. I've passed a few of those, and I'm on this, kind of life journey, and I've taken a break halfway through my journey, and this is a good place to get a little road check and a little guidance. And I feel like I need a little, either you're on the right path or keep your eye open, kind of a point.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, I'm just feeling into the information and just looking to see, just reading you. The way the energy is coming together when I look at you, it's like it's opening for a little while and then it's closing for a little while, and it's opening and it's closing. And it seems like you're like ebbing and flowing with this journey, and then you get this push of energy that propels you forward, and then there's sort of a little maybe stagnation, and then it opens up and lets you go again, and then it kind of pulls back and creates like a stopping place. Would you say that feels correct?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. We've had some of those, the stop starts, right? And most of it is, I think most of those, I don't feel like those are the universe so much as the own, like, a team struggle or this piece, and then I've energized by this piece, by some other event. So yeah, it's pretty accurate. Stops and starts, easy, not easy.
What are you doing differently in the easy moments versus in the stopping moments?
I think the easy moments, I'm not overthinking. I'm not trying to think past the moment. The more I'm aware and awake of the moment. And I think when I start to be a little bit more critical of what we're doing or how we're doing, or I look too far ahead, I think that's when it gets clunky.
Yeah. And that, in my experience, is how we stop ourselves, right? When we're in the moment, we're with spirit, we're in the flow, we're in our devotion, and we are focused on the only thing that we know and have, which is this moment.
Yep.
And that creates ease and flow for you. And then your mind wants to come in and tell you the stories and try to like
Bad.
get you right into the trap of, oh gosh, well, you better think about the future,
Yes.
or right, whatever that story is. So what are some of your stories?
So I'm an ex corporate guy. Left it all last January. My third act. So the idea was to become a public speaker, and to kind of lay the groundwork of that was to do some podcasting. And the podcast idea that I came up with is a little bit unusual. It's a traveling show, and I'm going across the country, 111 cities, going to interview 444 people. And I'm about halfway when I took a break. And it's been amazing. It's way more intense than I imagined. It's everything I imagined. I'm quite a planner, thinker, kind of a visioneering of kind of what it would look like. And all that is very close. It's freaky close. But the struggles, one is going to be financial, is it's going to take longer to turn this into a revenue stream than I thought. I'm 100% sure this is a business in the end. But will I scrape through? So money is a thing for me. It's a real, because it's a burn. I have a pretty good burn rate on the show, investing a lot in myself, believe in what I'm doing, and following the path. And there are some other doors opening. There's been a couple of doors that's opened recently when I took the pause and took a break and reflected. I've had another door open, so I'm running that one as well. So it's kind of that I'm on the right path, and I know I'm on the right path, but I'm not sure I have the conviction and the faith that I can keep doing it. Like that's not going to run. Like I'm not going to hit the wall. So that's my biggest worry right now. Everything else, I'm really content and happy, and it's like I want to keep this going, and I'm hoping I get those miracles here and there that the universe is behind me as well, or it'll show me the right way.
Which I'm hearing it has done all the way through, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I doubt it, but it's delivering.
Yeah. And, I think that's part of the journey, right? That we're on the path, and such a big part of the path is learning to trust and surrender.
Yeah.
And I love the magical numbers, the 111 cities and the 444. Was that intentional?
I'm pretty intentional.
Yeah.
And the 444, sorry, the 444 that number came to me. That was a number that became my number because it was presented to me a lot during the crafting of what I'm doing today.
Yeah. So you, my love, you are in the process of the ultimate surrender, right? We were talking about being in the deep end. Like you got to go into the deep end of the deep end.
Yes.
And if you truly believe in this project, which I hear it in you, right? That this is what you want to do, And you gave up everything for this. It sounds like you walked away from the safety, from the secure life to follow your heart. And
Yes.
what I have experienced is that when you put that level of devotion into something, spirit walks with you. And the part of you that is in the moment, the one that knows that, hey, it's just about the next interview, it's about the next city, it's about that next conversation. That is the thing that matters. What's going to happen next week? Not important to me today, because today I have enough money to pay. Spirit,
Yes.
please send me money for next week.
Yeah, that's all. And you know what? And if that's my strategy, I'm so behind that. I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what we tend to do. We start to look into the future and worry about things that we have no control over. And when we do that, right, we're creating the future from the past.
Yeah.
Past fears, past worries, past experiences where maybe they didn't work out the way we wanted. And we use that information to create the future.
Yes.
Right? Where the true creating of the future comes from this moment with your dream and your trust and your faith and your desire.
It's beautiful when I'm in that moment and that's happening. It is the best, right? Absolutely the best. And you so described it perfectly. Planning, I'm making my own future out of nothing.
Yeah, it's the human condition. It's what we do.
God, I love the brain.
Yeah, well, its job is to keep you alive. And right now you are on a path that is very, very spicy. And the brain is like, what are you doing, dude?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. My brain is absolutely going, can't we go back to the old place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as we both know, you do not grow in your comfort zone.
No.
You do not create huge strides in your life and in other people's lives, right? With this desire you have to help others. That doesn't come from the comfort zone.
Agree. It's been comfortably I don't know how to describe it, but I'm completely at peace with it, but it's been uncomfortable. Does that make sense? It's a good articulation?
Yeah, no, I love it. I remember years ago when I was, on this path, and I heard somebody say, successful people are no different than you or I. They just are more able to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's a good articulation. Yeah.
I know it changed something in me when I heard that. I was like, oh, okay. Like I get it now, right? Like you just continue to show up in that uncomfortable place and keep taking the next step towards the dream.
I love that. Just keep showing up. I'm all about the next step. Just, today's today. And I love the ask their spirits for tomorrow. Like next week, I need some money. Can you help me out? Sort that out. I did interview. I interviewed a very religious guy one time, and he had left kind of the safety of a church or an institution to go out on his own. And he said, got a family, kids, and everything. And he's like, no idea how I'm going to pay that bill next week. And he said, you know what? Just somehow the money came. And he goes, it just kept happening and happening and happening. Just put my trust in God. I mean, he was really, really religious, right? And so he just said, I just put my trust in God. And he goes, I just asked God, help me out. He said the money showed up every time.
Yeah, that's been my experience. I even have a sticky right by my computer that says my money comes from God.
That's true. I have been very lucky in that way too. Could have been some disasters along the way, but always somehow squeak by the next month, the next quarter. Like it's been surprising. So I should completely let go.
Yeah. And it's helpful, right? To have like a little arsenal of those things, like those memories of every time that it worked out. And then that way, when this voice wants to come in and be like, dude, you got to give up because you're not going to be able to pay your bills next week. What do you think? You ready to go home?
Yeah, you got to get a job.
Right? Oh, get a job. Yes, that one. I know that one.
Oh, that's the worst. I hate that guy.
So when he shows up,
yes.
Couple things. One, you know that you are so close because those are like your trusted friends, right? Like those voices have lived with you your whole life. And when they show up, it's like celebration time because you're here. Oh gosh, I know I'm getting close then.
Yeah, I must be close to defeating the biggest boss if they're throwing out my friends, right? If they're sending
Yeah,
my friends
exactly.
to get me off the track, I know I've almost defeated the biggest boss.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that voice shows up and it wants to tell you that. And one, it's like celebration time because you're close. And
yes.
two, it's like having something to think about instead. Like saying to that voice, hey, I hear you. Yes, that job thing, it does feel safe. But do you remember that time back in 1984 when this happened?
Mm,
And you tell that, you remind that voice of all the times that it went your way, that it went okay, and have those ready. And I know it's so silly, like we're talking like these are people, right? But they
yeah.
kind of are like
It-
these identities that we hold inside of us that aren't really the truth of us. They
absolutely.
are identities that we wear.
It's very true. Yeah, they're my friends. I know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough now where like you said, they are my buddies. I've got a few different ones that roll themselves out.
Yeah, where would you like to go from here?
I'm doing my main podcast. I've got this main show that I'm doing. I was telling you about the road show. And one of the takeaways from that was surprised at the mental health crisis in America. I decided to start a foundation or a nonprofit. And, it was really kind of on a whim. And when I say on a whim, I know when it's a whim for me, I'm following some breadcrumbs that I'm supposed to, or at least I think I am.
I
And then
call them spiritual breadcrumbs.
spiritual breadcrumbs. Yeah, God. Another one was God winks. Uh,
Mm.
someone, and a God wink is a little different, I guess. That's acknowledging something you've seen, I guess. And maybe it is a Holy Spirit kind of pushing me in a direction, or like you said, God breadcrumbs. And so from that, I ended up deciding I was going to do a mental health podcast. And so I just did recently start one, and it feels really right, like strangely right, like almost better than the original idea that I'm doing. And I guess the question is, because and I guess asking the question is kind of silly in a way for me because I know ultimately the truth will be, revealed. But I guess I want to make sure is that am I deluding myself too much? Am I searching for success because I don't have quite the success I want yet? Am I searching for something else, or am I on the right path?
Yeah, no, it's I'm just watching the energy
Sure.
as you talk
Hmm.
and it's pulling upward. Like there's energy that is coming in and supporting this other podcast and pulling it
Yes.
up. It looks as if like that podcast could pull the other podcast behind it. So that
Mhm.
might actually be the one that takes the lead or is the like the parent and the child is the way that it's showing up.
Okay.
But the question would be about, are you like spreading yourself too thin kind of idea?
Yeah. Yeah.
What I have found, if you are really really passionate about something, that there's an energy that's available that is outside of ourselves that comes in to support. So if you really like, if your intention of creating this is really coming from the truth of your heart and your soul, then it's not going to burn you out the way that things can when there's
Mm.
more this like, well, I have to do this, like because you're in this place, right, where the money story is coming up and you're being asked to really lean in and trust what is
Yes.
abundance.
Yes.
So if your motivation is more coming from that place, then I would take a day off. Like if that's the story that's running the strongest,
Hmm.
don't create from that story. Create from the story where I see it like a thread coming out of your heart, like weaving out into the world, touching all these souls as you go. Like that's the energy you want to, when you sit down, when you think about your podcasts and your projects, you want to be connected to that because then there's energy that comes in from the planet, from spirit, that sustains you and supports you, where you're not doing it all from yourself, and actually what's coming through to remind you and tell you. So the reason this is coming out from your heart is a beautiful thing. And when we create a business, it's super, super important that we don't have that business energetically live inside our heart. That business needs to live outside of you. So each of your podcasts is its own entity. It's its own living, breathing object, life here on earth, right? It has its own purpose. You are the conduit.
Yes.
You are the way that spirit is manifesting on earth, yet each of them have their own souls. And it's really important. I get the sense that you have them living inside your body, and you want to take them out, and you want to set them like they're each on their own. And they have their own energy source from the planet, and they have their own energy source from spirit. That way your thread can, go out of your heart and touch people. But that is you living like in alignment with your podcast, not you fueling your podcast from you.
Understand.
Yeah.
Oh, first, what you really, it's interesting, the parent-sibling thing, or the parent-child, because it is weird. I do feel like the mental health podcast is a bigger piece than the one I'm doing almost can support the ideas in there. It's interesting. And I'm totally energized by this idea. What you said is, it's not at all. It's, I'm doing it like a breakneck speed launch. I was doing one a day, and I don't feel tired at all. I feel excited. Every interview is just amazing. And I'm getting amazing people, and they're sharing amazing stuff. So I'm totally energized by it. That's why it's a little confusing. It should be distracting and tiring, but it's not. It's the opposite.
Yeah. Well, that's when you know that it's something that's coming through you.
I do feel like it was, again, it's like one of those, like my podcast, how I ended up with this idea to do the jar is truly a mystery to me. People ask me all the time, how did you come up with the idea? When did you think? And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I had this idea, I had that idea, and then somehow they merged and became this beautiful idea. And I'm just, you said, I do like the idea of getting it out of my heart, and it's its own entity, and let them flow through my heart. It's a beautiful articulation.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you co-created them. Like, that kind of murky place where it's like, well, I'm not even really sure how the idea happened. It's a co-creation.
It's co-creation. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm part of it for sure, but it's not all me. Love to take the credit, but I can't. I'd love to tell some great story, but that's not me. I won't make shit up. I just got to tell people, I was doing these 3 things and somehow I ended up with this. I don't know. It happened.
Yeah. No, it's like, I don't say my podcast. I say the podcast.
Yeah. I like
because
that.
it's not really mine. Like it arrived in my head one day and was like, sit at the computer. This is what you're doing. And I was like, okay,
All right.
Here I am. Show it what's happening next.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Right. Yeah.
One day I was in a van, driving the van going, how the hell did this happen? Whose idea was this?
Oh, so good. Like it just, that yumminess that comes when you're really living the life that you came here to live.
I feel like I'm really close to that.
Well, you are doing it. Yeah. That is something, right? That right there, just that nuance of like separating yourself from it. You are living it right in this moment.
Yes. Oh, I am that guy right now.
It is now. When you put things out there, then you create, like we're in the duality of the world and its separateness, and it's like something that you're always trying to get to, instead of really being in the energy of just, it's done. You already are him. You're already living that life. And there's just more to come.
Exciting.
Does this feel like an okay place to land today?
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'm at a good spot.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Thank you, Sarah. Me too. Me too. I'm like I said, I'm living it, but I'm also watching it. Is that a good way to say it? Like I'm living it, but I'm watching it, and I'm enjoying it so much. And I'm truly grateful to be in this place, to be that guy.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for being here today and making your personal and spiritual growth a priority in your life. To learn more about connecting with your dreams and your intuition so that you can create a life full of possibilities, visit me at www.sarahnoble.com and see how we can create magic together. A big thank you from my heart to yours for making the planet a better place for us all.